Check, check, check. We good? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hello. Hi, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, maybe. Good evening, everyone. We're good. All right. Oh, we're good? All right. Very good. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Kuhn. I am the Customer Success Director at Forces. It is my pleasure to be your MC for this evening. We have a very exciting panel discussion coming up. We've also got a great keynote speaker. And we'd also like to be able to do this presentation of practical application of AI in manufacturing. So we've got a, like I said, jam-packed agenda. We're looking forward to being able to be very smart with our time. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'd like to introduce John Barkas to the floor. John is the Senior Vice President of Manufacturing with Oracle, and it's a pleasure to have you come on up here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Can you guys hear me okay? You know, I just want to get started real quick. I've been in Oracle for quite a while, about 29 years, I think, so quite a while. I started out doing implementations, implemented software, e-business suite, all around the world, flew all over the place, and then, managed, some of our supply chain manufacturing area in that. And I think, right now is an incredibly exciting time for the application space for sure. It's an exciting time for all of you because you're going to get benefits from all the really cool technologies that are going on right now. In 2016, I was in Japan, and I was in Tokyo, and I was actually jogging through a park. Jogging a little faster than what I jog today, but still jogging around. And one of the things that I saw is everybody was walking around with their phones. They're just walking around like this, And it was kind of an interesting time because 2 weeks earlier than that, Pokemon Go was released. And it was absolutely crazy. I mean, you saw people everywhere, and that's all they were doing. They were going through. And luckily, my children had talked me into downloading Pokemon Go, so I had it also. So, of course, I was one of them doing that. But the interesting thing about it is in 19 days, at that time, they got 50 million people had downloaded, used the application. 50 million in 19 days. At that time, that was unheard of. That was absolutely crazy. What's interesting now is 2 years ago, ChatGPT came out. Within 2 months, they had 100 million users. And today, up until just a couple of months ago, they have 13 unique users that use it every single day. And that's just one of the vendors that we have, or one of the companies right now that are building AI components. This has just been absolute crazy. The growth of AI, the activity, particularly around the generative AI and the things we're doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, talk a little bit about what Oracle's doing, and a little bit about manufacturing. If I can figure out how to use this. If I had AI, it would help me a little bit more. There we go. So AI, of course, we've heard it everywhere. That's it's a great topic for here. It's a great topic for the session today. And I know that all of you, everyone, if you ever see a PowerPoint, there has to be AI on it somewhere in there. And honestly, that's driven not necessarily as much by us, as the suppliers, but really by the customers. They're seeing, just like in the past where we saw the benefits you're getting at home with the computer and other activities, or the use of it, or how you could do commerce, and all of a sudden you come back to work and said, I want that to be my activity at work. I want to start to get efficiency and execution. So AI, of course, is everywhere now. There's really two types, of which most of you, probably all of you are familiar with. This is classic AI, and then you have this new generative AI. And for manufacturing in particular, classic AI has been around forever. I mean, manufacturers have been doing AI since the dawn of time. If you think about manufacturing and their forecasting capability, the S&OP, execution, all those algorithms are basically AI algorithms. And they've continued to expand, continue to get better, a lot more of activity around identifying cyclical activities, looking at different parameters and be able to give you the best forecasting you possibly can. That's continued to evolve over time. So there's really been no hesitation in manufacturing to use AI in the areas that they understand, particular to quality as an example, looking at, predicting failures, predicting activities, predicting maintenance requirements. These are things that AI has been done. The generative AI is a brand new area of which companies are starting to get real benefit of. But again, at the moment, they're seeing a lot more of this benefits at home. Their sons, watching their sons and daughters write term papers on generative AI or whatever it is that they're doing. And the reality of it is in the business itself, particularly manufacturing, that's really just starting to take hold. And in line with that, this is a survey. So anybody familiar with the Manufacturing Leadership Council? Well, you should be joining the Manufacturing Leadership Council. So it's actually a division of the National Association of Manufacturers. They acquired them a few years ago. But the intent of the organization is to take manufacturing companies and all these peers and bring them in and be able to share ideas. And so a lot of times they do surveys. In particular to these surveys, they try to identify what are the latest trends and what are things that happen. Of course, one of the big topics that everybody wants to talk about is AI. And as you can see here, the number of people that anticipate the growth and activity particular to it is growing significantly. This was done about a year ago, and they've actually just produced a new survey yesterday, but my slides were already done, so I couldn't show it with you. But over the last year now, those that are planning to invest in AI in the next year, in the next 2 years, is just significantly growing over time. The other area is now, why would I use AI? And if you think about it, some of the standard stuff that they're using is around quality, efficiencies, execution. But the number one area right now is around process improvement. And the process improvement will be driven a lot by generative AI. This is the areas where I had a multiple step process. As an example, I'm releasing a new product. And when I release that new product, I got to create a description for the item. Very painful. Any of you that do wordsmithing just takes forever sometimes to take care of and address, build out the wordsmithing and the topic itself. And generative AI is perfect at this. This is the kind of stuff it does really, really well. So now all of a sudden you can take a remedial task that you weren't very efficient at, that creates a lot of challenges for you, and it just does it for you significantly easier. So those are the types of things that people are doing right now. They're already doing, leveraging the generative AI. Now, the potential for AI, both today and by 2030. So if you look at the top graph, it's the today and the 2030 is the larger one. This is another one that's significantly different in the results that you're seeing now a year ago, which is what this is based upon what you're seeing today. Every company now is starting to see that there's significant benefit of it. And if you think about industries, what are some of the maybe the most laggard industries as it relates to technology? Which one? Okay, manufacturing maybe? Factories, for sure. I mean, they've been laggards as it relates to adopting, and part of the reason is because if something's working, nobody wants to change. And they're very inherently want to minimize whatever risk they can have to the organization. Their margins are lower. They need to be able to continue. If you go miss production for a month or 2 months, all of a sudden you're out maybe your profit for a year. And that's a major challenge. So companies in the manufacturing sector are particularly laggards around technology. However, they have a very big problem. One of the problems is that they can't get enough employees. If you look at the National Association of Manufacturers, you'll look at their surveys and what they've identified over time. For the last 5 years, within the top 2, it's either been number 1 or number 2, which is this shortage of skilled workers. It's a continual challenge for manufacturing. Manufacturing is continuing, has an inability to hire new people. One, because it's not as sexy as it once was as it relates to what people want to do. And the second is the perception of it being a low-tech industry is out there, and it's very difficult for people, the best people that go to school and learn these great technologies, to be able to go back and go into manufacturers. It's really no longer true. Manufacturing is really a high-tech area, in particular to the skills that are required. So there are lots of other areas, particularly if I think about a manufacturer is now starting to look at value across their organization to identify where they're going to get AI, or where they can leverage AI to be able to initiate and make improvements into the business. So the first area, of course, is releasing new products, production, activity, execution, procurement, that whole area around managing multiple suppliers and be able to drive efficiencies across those suppliers. Engineering is another area that's being adapted very quickly. Sales, service. Service is one that in the classic AI, it's been around for quite some time, and now it's making it a lot easier. So when you call in and all of us get maybe lose a little of our patience when we call in and you get the response and you can't figure out how to get to the real person that you want to talk to. But the answers that you're getting now are significantly better. And not only the answer is better, but the answers are more relatable to the way that we understand to be able to execute on those. So across all of these different application areas, manufacturers are seeing significant benefit leveraging AI. I'll talk a little bit about Oracle. So Oracle uses AI. We basically use our own applications as we execute. So this is something where we have seen significant benefit and opportunities. We close our books faster than anybody in the Fortune 500. And that's partly because we've continued to expand and built out the AI capabilities to automate the processes that can be automated. So there's a whole realm of AI that's embedded into the applications that we take advantage of that allows us to close our books in a much more seamless manner, much faster, with a lot less errors. I mean, it becomes a lot less problematic for us. The second, as it relates to employees and how employees are benefiting from the applications itself. So one of the things that we've built out now is the ability to, if you want to go down a career path, that has been, I don't know about all of your companies, it's always been a struggle to be able to take the time. Everyone recognizes how important it is, but at the same time to be able to take the time to be able to build out and execute on those. It's a perfect avenue for AI. Because AI can take all of the career plans, it can take all of the manuals, it can take all of the data, it can bring that data forth, and then based upon the parameters that you want to do, in basically having a verbal conversation with the application itself, it can help to define a good career path for you. And not only that, but it can monitor it to see whether or not you're deviating from what that is. So there's significant benefits that we're seeing in that area. Oracle, you may not know this, we sell software, but guess what? We also make equipment. we make hardware. We sell a lot of hardware. Our biggest customer for hardware is our data centers. We are building data centers that probably have just heard, I think we committed to, was it $15 or $20 billion investment in Saudi Arabia recently. We committed to multiple. These are huge data centers that require a significant amount of supply chain activity to be able to execute on them. And so we leverage AI within our supply chain to be able to optimize how we receive components, how we manage those, how do we execute overarching onto the supply chain itself. So we've seen huge benefits associated with that. In fact, if you take that to down one level, and we outsource, like a lot of high-tech companies, a lot of our manufacturing capabilities, but yet at the same time, we're accountable for the quality of them. So because we're accountable for the quality, we take those quality aspects and we bring it into our supply chain so that we can monitor and track them and validate that the products are up to the same standards that we would have done had we been producing them or what our customers are expecting. On HR, one of the big challenges is how do you get the right people in and be able to hire the right people? Not only two things. One, are they the right fit for us in something that we would like to have? And at the same time, is the company the right fit for them? It does nobody any good if they come to the organization and realize the culture isn't a good fit for them and they move on. It's very expensive to train and be able to execute new employees. And one of the things that we're seeing is, we get more recipients, but in addition to that, the quality of them, the match to the roles is significantly better than it would have been or had been previously. So this is an area that pays huge dividends in the long run that is almost impossible manually. It's now been determined that even though we all think that we're the smartest people on the earth, the reality at the end of the day is the AI has done a better job in many instances of identifying these employees in the fit than what we can. Because sometimes what we base our conversation on is the last conversation we had. And it's hard for us to basically monitor the multiple people that we spoke to and be able to allocate across them. And then service. As I mentioned a little bit about service, I talked a little bit about a call center and be able to execute on that. But for us, one of the big challenges that we have in the data centers is that we don't want any of those to go down, as any of our customers don't want their products to go down. So there's things that we can now do and monitor because of embedded AI within the applications. We can take a conversation that's ongoing, be able to bring all of the information and make it seem conversational. It's kind of spooky now when you do a lot of these interactions with service, how real they seem. I mean, I've now heard studies that say that some of your best friends are going to become AI. That's a little bit of a scary concept. But I don't mind that some of our best service reps will be AI. I'm not sure I want to take it far enough that my best friend is AI yet. Although those humanoid robots look kind of cool, don't they? So let me talk about generative AI and the evolution of that in particular to what we've done and honestly what the whole industry is doing itself. There are some things that lend itself to very low risk, very easy to build components. As an example, creating content is very, very easy. There's no risk to it. Not only that, but I can validate that someone's going to check it and confirm it before I execute on it. So those are the types of things that are very, very easy to do. Those are the things that we built out first and have provide very quick value, because honestly, they're the things that people don't want to do anyway. And it takes the people that are doing those types of tasks and allow them to do better things, more responsive, add more value to organizations. In addition to that, make their jobs more valuable for them. There is the area that we are trending towards is a lot more flexibility. So the first thing that we've done is we've taken the applications, we've embedded AI across the application. This is something that you're going to see more and more of. And there's a couple of different arguments. One argument is whether or not I can take AI independently and run it across all of the applications itself. And another one is, should I embed it? And you're going to hear this argument going on and on, whether or not, what's the right approach and what are people going to be more successful at. There's a couple of things that you got to be aware of, one of which is the security to validate that what you're doing isn't going to be hacked in some manner. The second is the data that you're going to get good? Are the results you're going to get good? And I think the biggest challenge with AI is that the AI is only good as the data that it's dependent upon. The more data that you get, the more likely it is that you're going to get a better result as long as the data itself is clean. So if you have control of that data, you'll be able to manage it, that's well. The second part of that is if you're not embedding it, it implies that you have to become the experts at be able to manage and be able to create the prompts in order to be able to build the data and the responses that you get. Because we've seen over and over again where people will build a prompt thinking they know what they do, but they don't ask all the questions. I've done that myself when I've tried to figure things out, right? You ask it a particular question. If you don't ask it in the right way, you don't get the right answer. So you have to learn and continue how to do that. And it's similar to this whole concept around, do you need data scientists or you can leverage the people to be able to do it? The better the tool set, the more likely it is that you'll get more value from that. So embedded AI provides some significant benefits because it allows you to take the data that you have and be able to manage and be able to execute on that. This third, though, or the second part of this is the extensible AI. And this is the area that is the biggest growth opportunity for us, is to take that data that you have control on and be able to now start extending on it. One of the things today is everyone's basically using the same large language models, right? We're using the ones that are available, execution, problematic sometimes, some not. In manufacturing in particular, there are some very specific terminologies and activities that might mean something different in one industry than they mean another one. And I think for that matter, I believe what will happen is more and more manufacturers will start to use very specific large language models to a particular task or a particular sub-industry, how you want to execute. The area of, so if you think about one of the biggest data areas ever, has always been manufacturing. That's because they have basically what's called the OT data, all the data of all the machines that come out there which produce millions and millions of petabytes of data that come across that you start to take advantage of. Where the big benefit will come is when we start to bring that data together with the informational technology data, so you can start to correlate, where did I get this part from? How did I get it here? Why am I having a problem? How come it fails in this condition and not in this condition? Those are the types of things that more and more people will build out very specific large language models that you should have the ability to leverage. So Oracle has taken a path of allowing you to be able to select your large language model. So you can actually have a multitude of tasks, and from those have a large language model for one purpose and a different one for another purpose. So there's huge opportunities to making this more and more extensible. How do you build it out to be able to leverage external data and my data to be able to provide the results that I want? So the area of, if I think about AI agents, so an AI agent is this really, I'll call it a little worker, right? These are workers that I can now enable, that I can hire, and it goes to the opportunity that all of us can manage our own agents, be able to tie these agents together to be able to develop results and be able to provide them. I can tie them together and be able to leverage an opportunity to create a sequence of events that give me the right results that I want. The first area that we look at is around predictive AI, and that's the thing I talked about around forecasting, be able to execute on anomaly detection as an example. So I have a shop floor, and I want to identify the anomalies that are causing particular failures. That's an area that has been pretty well studied, a lot of activity, a lot of execution around that. This next area around generative AI is the focus that we've really been going into recently, that we're continuing to grow and expand upon. And then this third area that I just opened up is this agentic AI, this idea to be able to take those information, put them in little compartments and little workers that allow them to leverage tool sets to build out solutions that support your business processes. And there's a lot more flexibility. This is the area that if I wanted to build my own, I'd really want to be able to leverage that. But I'd want to do it in the context of an application so I can leverage and build out these stories to be able to support, provide value in the activities that I'm working on. And this is the biggest growth area. This is the growth area for Oracle and a lot of the other application vendors that are out there. Although predominantly what you're seeing today, there's the technology vendors and the application vendors. We've kind of tied the two together. So if I look about an AI agent, what is it that an AI agent can and should do? And the first thing about it is around authoring content. So this is creating new content, based upon, individual requirements of what I have. So I can create, as an example, a term paper. I can create an item description. I can create, documents and collateral. I can create contracts. I can look at all the other information I might have available and build out a contract. The second area, and this is the area that is the one that we get most interaction with, especially particularly the service side, is around answering. How do I get the right answer to what it is that I want? And again, I have ability to bring all that information out. And if you think about in manufacturing, one of the critical is I talked about resources. One of the big challenges is a lot of the older machinists and the really skilled workers are retiring. As they retire, all that knowledge that comes to their head, they're trying to figure out how to take that knowledge and give it to others so that others can be able to execute on that. And I think one of the areas is AI will be able to help to supplement that and be able to make improvements in that area. And then the third area, and this is the most critical, this is the area that, when I talk to a lot of customers today that are using AI today, they're really struggling with this third area, was how do I actually get something out of it? And I think we saw that whole transition with earlier technologies on IoT as an example. Share me the problem, but do something with it. Let's solve the problem. Let's go do something. And I think in AI in particular now, this is the area that we're really focused on, is around how do you solve the problem? What do you do next? Do I create a maintenance order? Do I automatically send a service technician out there? Do I reschedule a work order? Do I rejigger the assembly line? What is it that I'm going to do, and how do I execute on that? So this is the area that is the most complicated, but also the most beneficial. So this kind of opens up that, what is our approach and what is that we're trying to do is what we've called, we've created this AI Agent Studio, where we can create a series of tools, and these tools can be leveraged and tied together into an agent and leverage, and you can manipulate them and change them as you wish. You can choose the large language models that you want to work with, but you don't have to start from scratch. You can start with a template that has very similar characteristics to what you want to accomplish to make this process easier. And so the templates themselves are configurable, but they're a starting point, and they'll be able to execute on it. In addition to that, all of the tools are laid out with a lot of flexibility for you to execute on these. So these are the things that I think the direction of the industry and the direction of people are going to. More and more companies are going to migrate towards this path of protecting your data and at the same time giving you flexibility of how you leverage AI. Because I think one of the most interesting things about AI is how fast it's evolving. When I talked about that 50 million users in 19 days, that was just a single application. So it was relatively easy. It was simple for them to manage it. AI right now, with all of the different players and all the different execution, all the different capabilities, customers and companies are moving much, much faster. It's a very dynamic, incredible industry, and I see this provides significant value for all of us. Thank you.